Hey, Brooke. Hey, guys.
Hello.
So an escalation.
Let me get you on Facebook Live. Hold on one moment. Hey guys, while Brooke is working on that, and if you have won a ticket to Mega Camp, please stop by the office today to get your prize and your ticket. I have it waiting, so just stop by the office if you have time. And also, I hope to see you all tonight at the food truck from 5 to 7. Go ahead and place your order early with the food truck, so when they bring it, we're going to have everything set up, and I hope to see you and your family here tonight. We're going to social distance. I know I want to love on everybody, but I got to social distance. That's what they told me and I have to do. So stop by the office and pick up your ticket. Say hi, Lucy.
Is Brooke there?
Yes, Brooke is making an offer.
Oh, get it, Brooke.
So Brooke is working too.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Hey, Melody, do we need to pick up our tickets before 5, or can we do that at the event?
You can pick them up at the event.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's gonna party with us.
Brian, you gonna party with us?
I might.
Oh.
Is it I guess it's BYOB, right? But no alcohol?
Yeah, it's a BYOB popsicle.
I mean, we're not gonna be checking your Yeti.
I'm not gonna check your Yeti now.
Okay.
I'm not
Got
gonna
it.
check your temperature, and I'm not gonna check your Yeti.
Gotcha.
Montes, are you gonna stop by?
I am, if I can bring my son.
Yes, bring him. Yes, we have some games for the kids and stuff.
Okay, definitely. We'll stop by. And I could just grab my ticket too when I get there.
Yeah,
Right?
just you can grab it then. Yes, that's no problem.
All right, we'll see y'all.
So are you guys excited and ready for Mega Camp?
Very much so.
Okay, okay. Oh, look at Brooke. Look like she's getting ready. Hey, Heather Hair.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. It just happened.
All right, that is no problem. Hey, guys, I have Brooke Woolley. She's so awesome, and she teaches great classes, and I love when she teaches. I learn a lot from Brooke, even though I'm not an agent. And Brooke is going to teach us today on mastering contracts, special Stips, negotiations, tips, and problem solving. So she's just working on that now. So see, she was doing it already for us. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking because it's 8 minutes after. And Brooke, take it away.
Hey guys, so sorry. I'm a little late getting to the ball. So basically what I wanted to do in this contract class, I know Joanne Curtin has taught it, and I know some other people have taught it as well. What is it that you're seeing in the market right now that if you're losing out on deals or whatever? For example, I just made a listing live 3 hours ago and we already have 6 contracts in on it. So is there something that you're doing that you're not winning contracts, that you want to know how I do it? I don't think I've lost a contract yet this year in multiple offer situations. So I'm going to open it for y'all for questions at the beginning, and then we'll go into detail as they come up. And then I have a couple tips and tricks at the end.
Hey, Brooke, what's the price point of that listing that you went live and that you already have 6 contracts on?
$315.
And did you do any preliminary marketing campaign coming soon or anything to get so many listings?
Just posted it on my personal Facebook.
Nice.
So anything else? Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so basically there's a lot of contracts going out now, and I don't know if y'all noticed, but FEMA has redrawn some flood plans in the Atlanta and North Georgia area. So moving forward, if you are putting a house under contract in these areas that you know when you're doing your due diligence as the agent and you find out that it's in an AE zone or even an X zone, whatever, you want to go ahead and in the special stipulations put that it's contingent upon a flood, a clear flood appraisal or flood zone plane. Sorry, my puppy is biting. I can't think. I should put him down. So what that basically means is you could probably lose this property for your buyer because flood insurance is super expensive, especially the higher the flood hazard, the more expensive it is. So if they're already at the top of their budget and you won this deal for them, and then they find out right before closing that it's, you know, $2,700 a year in flood insurance, that could price them right out of the house if they're at the top of their budget. So basically you want to set, just like you would do a financial contingency and an appraisal contingency, you want a flood addendum in there. Kern is really good at working up the language on the addendum to make sure it's legal. I know Georgia doesn't have a flood addendum yet. I've started talking to Wiseman about this because Florida has one, and I used to put it in for every contract. Even if it isn't in a flood zone, it's just an extra CYA. Especially now that FEMA is just going around with all these crazy storms and flooding and everything that we're having in the Southeast. You're going to start seeing FEMA restructure the flood zone plains a lot more in areas that were never flood zones. So just in your special stipulations moving forward, make sure you always say contingent on a clear floodplain elevation certificate.
Brooke, question. Where
Yep.
do you get this information? I mean, you can put it on there, but is it on you as representing the buyer to get that information, or?
So yeah, it should be on you. One of the really cool things about your lender is they have access to all the floodplain information, but you can also go to FEMA floodplain
Okay.
and see if it's in a new floodplain zone. It'll kind of pull your house up and show you where it's at.
Yeah, I've done
Whatever
that.
house.
It's kind of hard to navigate FEMA sometimes. The plans or drawings are so big, and so you go into detail, it's just freaking hard.
Yeah, but if you put in the address, it should pop up if it's in a floodplain or not.
Okay, great.
You
Thank
put
you.
in the exact address, it should pop up. I understand it's really, it's clunky, it's government, like it's not going to be the best of the best, but your lender or if you have a preferred insurance agent, they are fantastic at finding floodplain things. This is their job. They have to know if it has to have flood insurance. So contact your preferred lender. You should be, as soon as you get it, before you even get a contract in, or as soon as you get the contract in, if you put it in your special steps, this is part of the due diligence, contact your insurance provider, your preferred insurer, and say, hey, is this in a flood zone? If so, what do we need to do it? I've seen so many times as a listing agent, buyers just lose the deal because their agent didn't tell them that it was in a flood zone that they could potentially be paying. I mean, I've seen flood insurance as high as $10,000 a year. So just know that it's expensive and it could price them right out of a deal. Because if they are getting a loan, they have to have flood insurance if it's in a flood zone. Okay, so another special stip that I do. So basically I'm seeing a lot of multiple offers now. It's a crazy market. Everybody's crazy in it. A lot of people are submitting in a multiple offer situation just escalation clauses. And those are great. And Melba did a whole presentation on how we should write them to protect the buyers and sellers. And I believe Aubrey has the video on that if you missed that. So ask him for it. But the escalation clauses are great. If you don't know what an escalation clause is, if you're new in real estate, an escalation clause basically states the buyer is willing to go up to a certain price point with, like, so let's say the offer is $315, the escalation is $10K. So we're willing to go up to $10,000 over list price in $1,000 increments or $1,100 increments, pending, you know, if this is accepted, if the escalation clause is accepted, then the selling agent must present the offer that they kicked out. So that just protects your buyer. Again, Melba has a whole thing on it and has the whole verbiage on it on that. That is great. what I am also seeing is people are still doing 14-day due diligence inspection. That's ridiculous. If you come at me as a listing agent with 14-day due diligence inspection, and I have 6 other things with 10, 7, 5, I've seen 3 days, that's going to kick you out. It's something as little as that. So you want to make sure that's a tidy up due diligence. So 7 days. 7 days is the max I would do on a due diligence with a multiple offer situation. I would also, when you're presenting the offer, make sure when you get your home inspection, just in the special stipulations before you even get your home inspection, I would put, and this is going to scare a lot of y'all, as is, hope, like my brain is fried today. So as is, as long as there's a clean home inspection. So basically what that means, and you need to set the expectations for your buyers, is if it's not a roof, an AC, mold, or a radon issue, we aren't asking for it to get fixed. This is not the time to nitpick. Electrical would be. So if it's not a major issue, we are not asking for it to be fixed. We can ask for, you know, a percentage back if we get the home inspection and there's just a lot. We come in and that's when you negotiate again and say, hey, it needs this, 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 and this. We're not asking you for you to fix it. We're just asking for $3K towards seller concessions. That is the time when you can negotiate seller concessions. You should always, in a multiple offer situation, not ask for seller concessions. If a buyer needs seller concessions to close, as the buyer's agent, you need to be talking to your lender to see what they can do. I know Kathy Vitale, Andrew Caddy, and Keller Williams Mortgage all will help with seller concessions. So just make sure you are on your P's and Q's about that. Because again, if you were to bring me in a multiple offer situation, a contract with $8,000 in seller's concessions and the other ones have none, you're going to get kicked out just for that reason. Like, we're not going to even look at you. We will ask for highest and best. We always ask for highest and best. I do, at least. Some agents don't. So just keep that in mind. Some agents will just choose the top one. Another trick is always, always, always submit. If this is the house they have to have, they love this house, always submit the contract with a backup offer. And people look at me crazy all the time when I do it. And that's just because we want to be the first backup offer if they already did accept a contract and we were just under the gun. We want to be that first backup offer. We want to be like, hey, we're in, we're serious. Here's the backup offer. Here's the pre-approval. If you're sending contracts without pre-approvals, you're going to be kicked out. So always make sure you have your pre-approval proof of funds. Always send a backup contract. Always have flood insurance addendum attached. Just think of it like an appraisal contingency or a financial contingency in that aspect. And what's another trick I done? So I did the inspection. So basically when my buyers kind of look at me crazy, I'm like, we're just gonna, but I set the expectation. I say, so is there anything that you would change in this house? And they're like, oh yeah, the paint, this, you know, we see a couple baseboards need, you know, sanding or something like that. I'm like, that's great. We have 30 years to fix that. Why don't we go ahead? This is a hot market. Let's go ahead and write this contract up. We're going to write it clean. The cleaner the contract, the better chance we have at winning this multiple offer situation. If they love the house, they're going to be, okay, you're the agent. I trust you. It is okay to sound more professional to a buyer and be a little more, we should do this, instead of, I don't know, this is what I would do. The more in this multiple offer situation world that we're living in, the more, not even stern, but to the point you are with your buyers, the more they're going to listen to you and respect you as a professional. So you don't want to always leave it in their hands. Does that make sense? You want to go in and say, so here's what I say we do. I say we go in at list price. We put in an escalation clause. We make it an as-is offer. And basically with that as-is offer, we're going to have a 7-day due diligence period. In that 7-day due diligence period, that is when we're going to get the mold tested, the radon tested, and the home inspection done, and a septic inspection if you're in a septic neighborhood. During that time, in that 7 days, if something comes back major, like septic needs pumped out or something like that, then we will go ahead and renegotiate that as is and ask them to fix that, or ask for money back at closing. Which would you prefer? And that's when I ask the question, and most of them are like, well, I don't know, what would you do? And I'm like, I would ask for money back at closing, because I would feel better, you know, hiring my own professionals than having a seller hire the professionals to do it. 99% of the time, you will not get pushback from a buyer. They're going to trust you more, and they are going to value your opinion as a professional. Are there any questions so far? Okay.
Brooke, the mold testing. The mold testing that I mean, you have two types of mold testing, just the basic visual and very minor detail, and the sampling testing. That one takes a lot more time and costs a lot more money because they have to send out the samples out. Are you able to get it in the 7 day?
Here's the thing you should do. If you walk into a house as agents, if you're new, you'll know it. You'll know it as soon as you'll walk into one. As agents who go in hundreds of houses a year, thousands a year, you know the smell of mold as soon as you walk in. You'll all know that sweet smell. If you smell that, then up your due diligence to a 10-day. Order your mold test that day.
Okay.
And now there are home inspection companies that do mold testing too. I know ProTech Home Inspection, they do septic, they do mold, they do radon, and you can add them all on, and they disperse everybody out there for you. So you actually go online, schedule everything, and they're great. And they have a 200% policy. So if something were to break within the first 30 days that they said was good, they'll refund your money and more of your money. So that's a really good company, ProTech, and they work the whole greater Atlanta area and up in the North Georgia mountains.
Nice. Thank you.
Brooke.
Yes, Sarah.
Yeah. Do you have those escalation clause and all that you can email?
So the escalation clause would be, I would honestly, Melba Franklin has it already written out where it would state how it would be best protecting your buyer. If you were not in that class with Melba, I want to say it was May, Aubrey should have it. Aubrey probably has it. So if you want to email, or actually, Melody, are you on still?
I am.
Can you get that escalation clause from Aubrey and send it out to everybody, the one that Melba approves?
Okay. What is it called again?
Escalation.
And that's for when you have a multiple offer to win the offer, correct?
Now, you have to have a solid contract with that escalation clause. So you can't just put in, you want 15-day inspection period with 8,000 in seller's disclosures and then put in a $5,000 escalation clause. The point being is the other offers might not have, they have shorter due diligence. They don't have seller's concessions, and you're still lower than their offer. So you want to make sure you have a clean contract on top of that escalation clause in a multiple offer situation. But please write it, copy it the way Melba has approved it, and is probably the only one that will protect your buyer.
So basically, if they have an offer over your asking price, then they have to show that offer to you.
What is that?
Well, I don't know about the escalation clause. So if you're trying to tell them they will upgrade the offer to another $5,000 if they have an offer higher.
So basically, here's how I write my escalation clauses. I write mine a little different than Melba. I'm just used to it. I state in the escalation clause, buyer willing to go up to $10,000 over purchase price in $1,100 increments above any other offer, period. Once contract and escalation is incited, selling agent must provide proof of offer beat out. So if you beat out 2 offers, they have to present 2 contracts. If you beat out 1 offer, they have to present that one to you. And I put within 24 hours on that too. They have 24 hours, or they're in breach of contract, and you can say, hey, we're back to list price because you didn't produce that.
Okay. So you will go, you said over 10K. Would you repeat that? Sorry.
So don't use mine. Use Melba's.
Okay.
Melody's gonna get it sent out to you. Don't use mine. Use Melba's. Mine still protects the buyers as well, but Melba's is the one that they want everybody to use in the office
Okay.
because it's broker approved.
And in regards to the flood,
Mhm.
what were you, I missed that. Sorry about that.
No problem. So basically, when you're in your due diligence period, when you get an accepted contract, if it's 10 o'clock at night, please do not call your insurance carrier, your preferred insurer, at 10 p.m. unless you're his wife or something, or husband. Contact your preferred insurer carrier and then state, hey, is this home in a flood zone? Give them the address, give them everything. If they don't have an answer with you within 24 hours, you probably need a new preferred insurance carrier because they should have you an email and like a little description of what zone it's in within 24 hours. It doesn't take them that long. If you have one who's really on top of it and loves your business, they'll typically have it to you within 30 minutes.
Now you're referring to the homeowner's insurance?
Yes, it's an added homeowner's insurance. So with the flood addendum, with the flood special stipulation that you're going to add, again, we're going to get with Kern to get it written up correctly. You want to make sure that your buyer is protected in that instance if there is a flood. Because when you're looking at a house, you don't know if it's in a floodplain yet. You might, if you've done your due diligence a little early, but in this market, we're looking at houses that have gone on the market within hours. So there's no way that you've done the, the back end yet. So when you submit that offer in your special stipulations, you need to put this contract is contingent on a clear flood insurance claim. And then that should kick in.
Is that a
That
must
should,
for all the houses, or?
I would do it on every one you do, just as a CYA. Here's what's going to happen. The listing agent is going to come back to you and say one or two things. One, we're not in a flood zone. Can we just get rid of that special stipulation? And then you're going to say, I want to protect, let us do our due diligence. If we need to amend the contract later and get it taken off, we will. Or two, they're going to call you and say, hey, yeah, it's in the 100-year flood zone, and here's how much they pay for flood insurance a year.
Oh, we never used that before on regular subdivision homes. Is that a must use?
It's not a must. It's not a must. This is a CYA thing for me.
Okay.
Like I said, FEMA is redoing all the flood zones because of all the flooding and everything that's happened in 2020. So a lot of areas in Georgia that weren't in floodplains before are now in floodplains, especially if you're working any lake or river region. Just expect that most of them are in floodplains. If you're in a subdivision and the lot goes like this and the house is here, but down here is a creek bed, expect part of the property to be in a floodplain.
Oh, okay, I see. It's for the creek properties and other properties that they.
I would do it, honestly, I would do it on every property you have because they are, like I said, even if it's in a low-lying area, that area could have held water at one point before it was developed. So you want to go ahead and just put contingent on a clear floodplain.
Flood claim.
Plain, yeah.
And you call which insurance? Their home insurance?
No, I would call your preferred insurance agent. Do you have a preferred insurance agent that you refer to?
No.
So I would get with your lender and see which insurance carrier they typically refer their loans out to.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have any questions about anything? Okay, so when you are looking at a house and your buyer really likes it and it's listed perfectly, priced perfectly, everything like that, are y'all seeing a lot of appraisals come back lower or higher? So basically in your appraisal contingency, and y'all want to make sure this is checked, that you put 21 days in your appraisal contingency. If you're doing a typical 30-day loan, if you're doing a 15-day loan, you would do 14 days. So with the appraisal contingency, that basically protects your buyer. If an appraisal comes back lower than it should. So let's say you have a house at 300,000 and it appraises at 275. There are two things you can do here. You can either ask the appraiser, you can look on the appraisal report if you're the buyer's agent, look on it, see which houses they pulled the comps. If you know it should be 300, then you can contest that appraisal. You just contact the lender and you show the lender your comps that you pulled, and y'all can contest that appraisal and get it back up to 300. Now, that way that your buyer doesn't have to come up with $25,000. No lender will ever advise, and I will never advise a buyer to purchase a home under appraised value. It's just not good. Now, if they want to, if they absolutely love it, and they're just hell bent and bound to do it, then let them do it. I mean, it's their money. We can't stop them. But I don't recommend it, and I tell them that all the time. If we can contest it, we need to contest it, and that's by pulling your comps that you have in the area. Do not trust a listing agent to know the proper pricing. Always, always, always when you're writing the contract, try to go into RPR or go into HomeSnap or go into the MLS and try to pull your own comps to support the list price. In this multiple offer situation, if you're just wanting to get everything written up and get it submitted, then you need to make a harder appraisal contingency deadline. So basically, appraisals can be done in 14 days depending on your lender, just so y'all know. A lot of them are not going out on Saturdays anymore. So you're only going to start seeing appraisals Monday through Friday. For some reason, I've had this happen 4 times now. These appraisers, especially in the North Georgia area, are not working Saturdays or Sundays now. They're only working Monday through Friday. So in your appraisal contingency, you need to make sure it's business days. You need to make sure that if in your special stipulations, you put that everything in that contract is business days. From the closing date, if you want to do 30 business days closing, from the appraisal contingency, the due diligence, that kind of everything in this contract is business days. Now, Wiseman is working on getting it to where you can either check business days or check all days. So I know they're working on that. That might be a change coming up soon. So just make sure you always put that this is a business days contract, especially in your appraisal contingencies, because appraisers are not working on the weekends now. I've seen it time and time again.
Brooke, are you adding that to the special stip that all contingencies are based on business days?
So when you're doing your financial, when you're putting in, whether you grab the conventional paper, FHA, VA, and keep in mind, some of these addendums don't have appraisal contingencies in them, so you will have to write in an appraisal contingency in the special stipulations. Conventional loan and definitely has the appraisal contingency in there, so just copy and paste it, put it in your special stipulations for your VA loan or your FHA loan, just to CYA. What you're going to want to do in that is just basically on the conventional loan side, if it's the appraisal contingency, you're going to want to write, this is contingent on business days. So 21 business days. And then you're going to have the buyer and the buyer's initial next to that, and leave a space for the seller's to initial next to that, because you've made a change to the contract and everybody needs initials.
Can you just write on the special steps on a contract saying that all contingencies are based on business date?
You can do that too.
That will make it so simple.
You can do that too.
Would that fly for inspection?
I would do, if you're doing inspection, I would do inspection. I would sub it out like inspection, appraisal, finance, everything due is business days.
Yeah, that'll be the easiest way to do it, right?
Yep.
Then it can oversees the appraisal contingencies and the conventional loan and all that.
Well, it just saves everybody the confusion because some agents think that the contract is already business days. Some don't. Lenders and attorneys don't work on the weekends. So, well, they do, but they're not in the office on the weekends. So offices aren't open on the weekends. So you want to make sure that that agent knows that you're doing a business day contract. Also, when we are putting closing dates in the contract, if you're just putting a solid date, like say you just put September 29th on a contract, you really need to go in and put on or before September 29th. Here's why. You could still close on the 29th, that's fine. But if you have a jam up team of lenders and buyers who are on top of it, there's a very big possibility that you're going to be closing before, and that just saves you from writing another addendum to the closing date.
It also makes your offer stronger.
Yes, it does make your offer stronger. Are there any other questions?
Hey, Brooke, I have a question.
All right, Martha, what's up?
Okay, I've got a first-time home buyer, and they're real tight on money to put down. They're doing an FHA, so it's kind of challenging to not do adding closing costs in because they're really tight on the money that they have. And as far as getting all the extra, you know, the mold test and the radon test, it can be really challenging when you're talking about that in addition to the other fees that they have to pay. So, I mean, do you have any kind of ideas as far as that?
You don't have to look. I'm from Florida, and we don't do radon tests in Florida. Radon is basically, especially in new constructions, just trapped air producing from the foundation. And it's big in Georgia because of Stone Mountain. So basically what I would do is just say, hey, if you're afraid of radon before you move in, open your windows for 2 weeks and let the house air out. People are not opening their windows anymore and letting fresh air in. And with the upgraded windows that are sealed tight, the AC systems that are sealed and only regenerating the in-house air, like just have them open the windows if they want to save a little bit of money there. The mold test, again, if you walk into a house and it doesn't have that sweet smell of mold, don't worry about a mold test. Chances are it's probably not there. Now, that smell that you're smelling is black mold. So you definitely want, if they love that house, black mold can and will either make you very, very ill, do nothing at all, or kill you. So you always, when you smell that, and you can ask the sellers to pay for the mold test because chances are they know about it. With the FHA loan and having sellers contribute to that, I'm seeing a lot of FHA and VA loans get turned down. And that's sad. It's really sad. So what I would do is talk to your lender beforehand and see if there's anything they can do for closing costs for your buyer. Whether it's, you know, if the appraisal comes back higher, they can kind of add that in there. There's all kinds of different things that your lender can work on to help you write a cleaner contract for your FHA and VA buyers in closing costs. And like I said before, Keller Williams offers help with closing costs, Keller Mortgage. I believe Kathy does with Shelter Mortgage, and Andrew Caddy does with Fairway Mortgage. So all three of those are jam up lenders if you don't have a preferred lender.
Okay, I have another question also. I mean, you as a listing agent, when you're looking at offers, I mean, do you favor one, and I'm sure you're probably going to say yes, that has no closing cost, you know, if it was at list price versus, you know, sometimes I'll try to raise the asking price to counteract the closing cost. So I would do 300,000. I would do 305, seller to pay 5,000 in closing cost. I mean, do you look at it as a listing agent? Do you look at it differently as an offer?
No, I just, whatever nets my seller the most. And I do, if y'all are doing seller net sheets, I present a seller a net sheet every time I present an offer with the contract. So on the front, it has everything that they need to know. How many, what's the due diligence period, what's the price, what they're netting at the end. So no, I mean, it's really, really, really comes down to what they're going to net. Now, with that being said, I have had sellers accept contracts based on a letter that was submitted with the contract. And it was probably the lowest offer. So don't discount buyer. If your FHA buyer absolutely loves the house and this is their first time purchasing and they want to make this their forever home, I call it tugging at the heartstrings. You can always tug at the heartstrings. And there are people out there that will accept it. Now there are people out there that are coming out of the woodworks that are just making offers to make offers. And I've actually gotten a blank contract before and the buyer's agent just told me to fill it out. So please don't be that person. Anybody else have any questions on contracts, flood addendums, anything like that? Brian, I'm going to call you out for a little bit because I've seen you a lot. So you've been doing some business. Have you seen a multiple offer situation? And if you did, how did you win it?
I have never made an offer before. Sorry.
Oh, what?
I am so fresh here. Yeah, I'm green.
All
I'm
right.
bright
Well,
green.
Robin's on the line. So Robin, how do you and Scott, when you ran the team, how did y'all win multiple offer situations? What's the best tip and trick you had?
Well, I haven't really, and thanks for asking, Brooke, really sweet of you. Hi, everybody. Let me see if I can get my video on. I just finished up a meeting, so I'm late on getting on. So how have we won? Again, tugging on the heartstrings. Martha, you mentioned just a few minutes ago, adding the closing cost to the purchase price. The other thing is clean contracts, right? So clean contracts where you're making it, don't muddy up the waters on your special stipulations. If, really the only thing, even on like a VA, the only thing that you should be asking for if it's a VA and a special stipulation is you get the termite letter within 30 days of the closing because that's a VA requirement, but really clean contracts. And if you're going to write your letter to your sweet letter, then let it pertain to the actual house, right? And because most sellers really do want to know that you're going to take care of their awesome house.
Yeah, that's like, so if they've built this awesome backyard and your buyers are just in love with the backyard, have them go on about how they're going to have family outings there and stuff like that. And they can't wait to bring kids over and have pool parties and use the fire pit. And so really tug at there, because remember, selling a house is just as emotional as buying a house, if not more, especially if you have years and years and years invested in it.
Yeah, it's true. And keeping your timelines short if you can. I don't know if you mentioned this, Brooke,
We did.
But
We
great.
did.
It's like, let your lender dictate what that can be. But if you can, and line up those inspectors before you even go under contract. If you think you're going to get it, line them up so that that inspection is happening within a day or so, and be the friendliest agent you can be to the other agent.
Yeah, let's come up well. Thanks, Robin, for bringing that up. You will win more offers with sugar and honey than you will with vinegar. Let me tell you, when I submitted contracts for buyers, I have sent the agent Starbucks gift cards. If you don't have an Eva bot, gifting app. I would get one of those. You can send them like a thank you, and they'll right then and there, they go through a text messaging chain and answer some questions, and then it sends out a gift. It can be $25, it can be $30, whatever it takes to help you win that offer for your buyers. They're going to be those agents are going to be your best friend. And then when you have to present bad news to the agent, like, hey, we came in, under appraised value, what can we do? Then the agent's going to be more apt to want to work to get you to where your buyers need to get to on that under appraised value, especially if you've just been going out of your way above and beyond to be nice. Because as a listing agent, I've had some not so nice agents working, and I tell you what, like, by the end of that transaction, I was just ready to be done with them. Like, I was like, no, we're not doing anything for them. But the sweet ones, oh man, I will bend over backwards for the sweet ones. I love them. I want to work with them again. Like, I'll give Aubrey their information to try to get them over at our KW. Like, so just keep in mind that, like, you want to catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Hey, Brooke.
Yes, Nicole.
So some things that recently helped me with winning was, one, we had a pre-approval letter for well above what the list price of the home was. So that showed that they were well qualified. They were just being prudent buyers. That helped out. The fact that some of those inspection companies that you spoke of, they already do a termite letter, so take the termite clause out because you're already going to get the termite letter. One thing is, I literally asked just a recent pending I just have right now. I said, what was it that tipped us over than the other offer? And she said it was a letter.
Yep.
My clients wrote the letter. I have written letters before, but my clients wrote the letter. And actually, when I read it, I was even moved, and I knew the story. It was crazy. I was like, I know your story, and I am about to cry when I read this letter. The other thing is, never, in my opinion, this is get to the chase. I'm very straightforward, get to the chase. And I'm sure you appreciate this, Brooke, is call the listing agent, find out, besides the obvious price, what other terms is the seller looking for? Because you don't want to go back and forth. It's better to cut to the chase. If they prefer Weissman, do Weissman. If they prefer Kelly Thorne, write down as much as possible. One other one I won, the people needed temporary occupancy. I would have never known that had I not called the listing agent to know that these people really needed temporary occupancy. So
that's a fantastic point. I actually just sold one that they had called me on it. The seller needed to close by the 14th of August, had to, so he could close on his other house on the 14th of August. That left us 3 weeks to get their house sold. We had an FHA loan come through. We accepted it. I talked to the lender. They were well qualified, like Nicole said. They did everything, and we closed on August 14th. So yes, you definitely want to call the listing agent to see what other terms that seller needs. So the pre-occupancy thing is great. If a seller has to stay there for a week or two until their other house closes, that's fine. I like that. I don't recommend any kind of pre or post occupancy, but Nicole, if that won you a deal, that's awesome. Also, you mentioned one other thing, Nicole. What was it? I'm sorry.
I said the letter, I said the pre-approval was well above, so it showed that my buyer was being prudent. And then I said something about the termite. If you already know that you're going to tell, RIA, Pro Home, if you already know that inspector does termite letters, take the termite clause out.
Yes,
and this goes like Robin said.
Yeah, this might go back to Martha. Martha, when you have an FHA buyer and they're really tight on funds, what I like to do in that situation is, especially if they're really tight and you do smell mold in the house, or that there's some termite damage, I'll go ahead and pay for that for them as like a closing gift or whatever. It's $250 typically for a termite letter to have a company come out. I've also, in multiple offer situations with FHA buyer, have paid for the home inspection.
You can get them for free too as well, termite letters. Because there's companies that are looking to bring on the client, the client for long term.
Yeah.
So they'll do it on courtesy. So that is
What
definitely something that I've used.
what company are you using
Gill
for
gill straps.
Bug out
Gill
for sure. I
strap.
know that.
Did you spell that for?
Gill
It's
strap.
GILSTRAP.
Oh, you got it. They're for free.
Yeah, they do my pest control.
Also, Team Pest USA will do that. And Bug Out will do that. Team Pest USA will do that for all of Keller Williams agents in our office. They are one of our alliance partners. So
Right.
they
They
will
did it
do
for
that
me.
as well.
And then watch out, you guys. This recently here, they're talking about making sure stucco is not earth to wood. They're going back to the old, the earth to wood contact, and they want to charge Arrow. I'm sorry, Arrow wanted to charge an astronomical amount for a termite letter, and it was my fiduciary responsibility to my seller to. I was like, there's no way. I know they get a termite letter for free. And Bug Out came out and did that, just like Ebony said, in hopes to gain the buyer's business. But it's nothing like making sure you get all that stuff ironed out before you even submit the offer. Because Brooke, I mean, I'm sure you've had it. One of my past listings here, I had a blind offer come through, and I didn't like, who is this?
Yeah, I just had one this morning. Yeah, like please make sure you're calling the listing agent. What I like to do, guys, is I make little folders on my desktop for everything, and I put the pre-approval letter, I put the contract, the addendums, everything in a folder, and I just email that folder to the listing agent. So everything's in a nice tidy package. The cleaner you are, the more organized you are, and the nicer you are, that agent is it's gonna look like a smooth transaction in their eyes, because trust me, we've all had bad ones. And the smoother that it looks and the cleaner it looks, the more apt you are to getting that offer accepted.
Did they give the last caller? Did they give the termite clearance letter from Bug Out? Was there a problem with the termite in that house?
So typically when you get a termite clearance letter, it's just stating, lenders kind of require it sometimes, they're just stating that there aren't any termites. It's just, we call them WDO inspections in Florida. You have to have a clean WDO inspection for lenders. So you have to have a clear termite letter for lenders in Georgia.
It's not a certificate.
It's kind of a certificate. Yeah, it comes on, it's.
Yeah, okay, got it. I know
yeah.
which one it is, yeah.
Yeah. All right, anybody, Lewis, I see your microphone's turned off. Do you have anything? Nope.
No.
Okay. All right. So who in here has been in a multiple offer situation as you're like, and you lost out and you're wondering why you lost out?
I have a couple of times, and it was because I had an FHA buyer, and the listing agent I actually knew because I had worked a couple deals with them, and he had told me that he was shying away from FHA deals because the appraisals weren't coming in. You know, they were coming in so much lower, and he found that if it was a conventional type of loan, that they're more likely to have a higher appraisal, is what he told me. So that's really challenging when that's the only way your buyer can go. And like I said, when I'm, looking at a $200,000 house, and it can be very challenging.
Is that an ethics situation with that listing agent?
Well,
it has to be, because you can't discuss that.
Yeah, it's definitely an ethics issue. This is where you could seriously look at it at discrimination there, right? Would that do anything to help you gain? No. I mean, he's this person is definitely crossing the line for sure. He who has the most gold wins. So this, as great as it is in our sellers market, unfortunately, we're seeing all kinds of stuff, people doing and saying things on the other sides that are pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hate that for you, Martha. The only way I am seeing a lot of, like I said, FHA and VAs lose out, which is, it's awful. It's awful. It really is. Typically, they are 45-day closes for VAs because of the appraisal, and they get, hey, Lewis, can you just mute? Sorry. Typically because the appraisals take a little longer for VA inspections, but I am seeing them close just as soon as conventional loan, and just as soon as, I mean, jumbo loans even. Like, I mean, you can close out an FHA and VA loan right now with the right lender in under 30 days if the buyer has everything they need for the lender and they're on top of it. So I look at, here's what, Martha, I know we touched base on this. Here's what I look at it. I don't really look at the loan per se. I look at what's going to net my seller and the closing dates. If the sellers have to be out at a certain time or they want to be gone by a certain time, we're going to look at that closing date. We're also going to look at, sorry, I just had a brain fart. We're also going to look at the list price. So if you do the 305 on a $300,000 loan, I'm gonna present that to the sellers as this is how much you'll net. And if it's up against a conventional or a cash deal with the same terms, then I'm gonna come back and go, hey guys, we're at highest and best. When an agent goes, we're at highest and best, this is when, I believe Nicole or Ebony said it, this is when you wanna go ahead and ask that selling agent, what are the terms the seller needs to close? Even if you're at your best price, you can at least adjust those terms. So even if you didn't ask the listing agent before what the terms were, now's the time to ask them, because you could win out just by closing date.
Then I know as a courtesy, Cassie has done on several occasions for me, and it's been very good, is she'll call and let the listing agent know how strong your borrower is.
Yes.
And one of mine is a VA right now. So I've had her call in to let them know, hey, yes, she's going VA, she's using her benefits. However, she's strong enough to do any other product, so she chooses to use her VA benefits so that that person knows that it's a strong. And also, I know Cassie tells them about her having local appraisers that gives the listing agent more reassurance that it's going to be appraised properly.
That is so important. To have a local appraiser. You can have an appraiser come in, and having a lender that uses local appraisers, the Russian, I call it the Russian roulette wheel of appraisers. Having a lender who uses local appraisers is so beneficial. They are so booked right now. They are sending people from Decatur up here to where I live in the North Georgia mountains to appraise properties. And I'm like, what, you're from Decatur? How do you even, and they're all over the map up here. So make sure that you definitely ask your lender if they will use a local lender or a local appraiser. If they are not using local appraisers, I would kind of go in and see what you can do to maybe help your buyer get it appraised for locally. Now, you can't call anybody, you can't do anything, but you can talk to another lender. All right, we have like 2 more minutes. Any last questions?
Brooke,
Okay,
I have something else here. I've got a contingency. I've got a seller that has to sell his house in order to purchase another house. So, I mean, is there a way to kind of sweeten that up on both sides? Because, I mean, he's going to have a contingency with the buyer in purchasing his house, and then also with the purchase of the house that he's buying. Is that correct? So it's kind of on both sides?
Do you have the listing?
Yeah, I'm going to be getting it.
Oh, you need to have it listed. You need to have the listing with paperwork already filled out and present that with your offer.
Okay, so that it goes together with the offer.
That way the listing agent on the other that he's buying on knows that you're going to be listed. It would even be better if he already had it listed, and then as the seller and the selling agent, you can negotiate the closing. The closing's kind of it. So let's say in 2 days, the buyer comes in and places an offer and they want to close in 30 days. And you're going to be like, we have to find him a house first. Can we close in 45, do it September 20, or October 29th on or before. And then that way you can close before or after, but you definitely want that house listed before
Okay,
you go
yeah.
into a contingency.
Yeah, that was the intention. I'm just in the process of going. He's been fixing it up and doing his thing, so I'll be going out tomorrow to kind of evaluate price and everything.
Yeah, go ahead and get that listing agreement signed while you're there.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
No problem. All right, so real fast before we leave, so we kind of talked about the flood insurance. Make sure if you're in a floodplain, get that flood addendum in or write in the special Stips. Again, I'll get with Kern to get it written up and then email it out. You want to do a escalation clause. You want to keep the contract as clean as possible. You want to keep due diligence down to at least 7 days. Or again, don't put 15 days. You want an appraisal contingency. Make sure if you have a contract that doesn't have an appraisal contingency that you write it in your special Stips. If you are in a cash or another lending situation. And then the letters, tug at the heartstring. And then if you're in a contingency to sell, make sure you present the listing agreement with the contract so that selling agent knows that he is serious and he is putting his house on the property or it is already on the property. If it is on the market, if it is already on the market, send them the MLS sheet. All right.
And then if it's under contract, send the contract and all that.
I would not send the contract because you have I can't see. I would not send the contract because you have other people's information, financial information and that stuff in it. I would just tell them, I would send.
You can't redact that though, Brooke, and send the actual.
I just don't like doing that. I would just go ahead and tell them it's pending and send them the MLS sheet that shows that it's pending under contract. So, all right, guys, go out and kick some butt today. And if you need me for anything, feel free to email me at brookew7@gmail.com.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Brooke.
Brooke. Appreciate it.
Bye.
So don't
Thank
forget
you.
to come by, and if you register for Mega Camp, go ahead and log in or register for your classes you want to attend on tomorrow. Correct, Lucy?
I'm going to put the video on Facebook.
And she's going to put the video on Facebook. So if you have any questions, you can do that. And stop by today. Go ahead and order your food from the food truck. And also bring your chairs if you're coming to sit and squat for a while. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.